Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. Make sure in that section of the application where it asks how you heard about us, make sure that you put Drea's point of view. Enjoy the show. You are tuned in to a female-hosted podcast who values you and your time. Each week, I will deliver short and sweet perspectives with no sidekick. So please, sit back, put your feet up, and allow me to bring you Drea's point of view. Hello, and thanks for tuning in to Drea's Point of View. I'm your hostess, Drea, and today's episode will be about the not-so-wonderful Wizard of Oz. Like many of you, I grew up watching this movie. It's one of my favorite movies as a kid. I even played a munchkin in elementary school. I just loved everything about it. Amazing movie, cinematography, everything. I just loved it. And it wasn't really until a few years ago. It's amazing what you learn years after the fact about things that you grew up with. I learned so much these past couple of years about that movie. It really just, it's still one of my favorites, but it really was kind of disturbing. Now, I have to admit, I haven't read the Oz books, and I don't know if I plan to, because I heard that it really gives you a totally different experience of it. And I just kind of want to keep the pleasant version that I see on TV in my mind. Like, I guess the slippers weren't originally ruby, they were silver. But I listened to this podcast, and we all know Judy Garland, who played Dorothy, the struggles that she had, with her weight, how they wanted her to look younger and thinner, had her in a corset for most of the day. And, they put her on drugs, and that's what eventually killed her. And her mom pretty much okayed all of that for a check. But it was really also amazing the things that I heard that she went through as well. Type of abuse that she took filming that movie. Apparently she was allegedly sexually abused by the Munchkins. She was not the highest paid, although she was a star. And then she was slapped on one of the scenes because she wouldn't stop laughing. So it really gets worse than that, actually. Just very interesting things I'm going to touch on. The Tin Man. There were two cast members that were, two men who were cast for that part. The first one, he was painted with aluminum powder. He digested it, so wound up having to go to the hospital. And he stayed longer than they would have liked. So they replaced him with the guy from Beverly Hillbillies, that TV show. And apparently that costume wasn't any better because, he had to stand up for hours. He really couldn't even sit down. So that was a story of the Tin Man. The Lion, his costume was a 90-pound suit that was made of, lion skin. So, of course, not only was it heavy, but it was extremely hot. Just imagine that. There was talk of the witch's costume. The scene where she actually was supposed to disappear in smoke actually caught on fire when she disappeared. So she had to go to the hospital as well. And the Scarecrow, which I found interesting, he was supposed to, I guess his costume it damaged his face for a while. It left permanent scars. But what was most interesting to me, that originally they were planning on having the Scarecrow be Dorothy's love connection, which was kind of, I'm like, okay, she's 16. How is that her love connection? Which would probably explain why at the end she's like, and I'll miss you most of all. Okay, well, now I can see why. Auntie M, it's said that she wound up committing suicide at 85 years old. The Munchkins, like I said, who were like in their 40s, and so that's even worse. They were in their 40s, and she was a teenager accused of sexually assaulting her, pulling up her dress. It says that they were only paid about $50 a week. And Toto the dog was paid more. And mind you, Dorothy earned less than all of her coworkers. And another tidbit, I learned that song Over the Rainbow was almost cut. It was thought to be too slow for the listeners. They wanted something upbeat. And I guess the cast was supposed to do the Jitterbug, but it was before their time or something. I don't know. I just like the way things are. So I'm glad they didn't decide to change that. But it's just interesting. There were more things that I found interesting as well. But I just wanted to just share. It's just, I don't know. It's just amazing. The things that you find out about later in life. I'm glad that I didn't know about that then. I don't know. So tell me, what's your favorite movie coming up? Was The Wizard of Oz one of them? Did you know about any of this? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. You have been tuning in to Drea's Point of View. I can be heard on Podbreed Network, Good Pods, Top Black Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Spreaker, and more. Feel free to leave me a comment on my website, www.dreaspointofview.com, or on social media. I'm on Facebook and IG, Drea's Point of View, as well as Twitter, Drea Point. It's been my pleasure bringing you a part of me, and I hope that you remain to be a listener. Until next time, take care.